So now today's topic is new approach for changing farming system in the light of global warming. This is one topic inside your syllabus. Okay. So how this is linked to integrated farming system, that is very, very important. So then only you're able to understand this content of the syllabus. Otherwise, it's very difficult. It's independent titles, terminologies. Okay. So you need to make a connectivity between the integrated farming system. Okay. So when you say integrated farming system, already we told you that association of more than one component, whether it is agriculture or within the agriculture or between the agriculture. There is a strong association between the two components, making it as a single system. So the main advantage already we have studied in the previous class, that the first and foremost is utilization of products or byproducts from one component to another component. That is very, very important. So the moment you say product or byproduct, so like once upon a time with respect to dairy, the milk was the primary product. It is never said as a byproduct. Dung is always considered as a waste. But now things have changed. So now if you take the dairy product, milk and dung has become the products, not the byproducts. No more it's a waste. Okay. But even then, when you try to utilize the byproducts of one component to another component as an input, so thereby a lot of energy, money is saved. This is one way. So altogether it makes it as economical. Second point, the unnecessary wastage of byproducts leading to environmental pollution. Like if you take dairy, if you're going for a commercial dairy farming, okay, your main focus is on milk. But since it's a commercial, lot of dung is being produced from your farm. If you don't handle it properly, okay, if you don't handle it properly, naturally, the mismanagement of dung or liquid waste called urine or water wash or whatever the sludge we call it as from the dairy component, it will lead to an environmental pollution if you don't handle it properly. Okay, this is one point. So when you don't handle properly, so naturally it's going to be put on the nearby area. So once you put your dry dung as a heap or as for the composting purpose, so there will be anaerobic creation. So there will be release of methane. So indirectly it's contributing to the methane, to the environment. Similarly, when you keep large number of animals, and if you try to offer poor quality feed, so there is a continuous rumination. So through that rumination, it increases the enteric fermentation. Again, it further leads to release of carbon dioxide and methane into the environment. Means intensive farming system. First was, if you don't handle properly the dung, so that will contribute to the environmental pollution in the form of releasing methane and carbon dioxide in the environment by anaerobic process in the form of composting. Second is through enteric fermentation. So now when you try to integrate, so the handling of byproducts will become easy because that dung will be used immediately as an input for the other component. It can be agriculture or it can be any other farm. So thereby that reduction of methane releasing into the environment is reduced. Okay. Similarly, when you try to take the feed which is harvested from the agriculture component and you use it for the input for the dairy farming, so thereby the quality of product is maintained. So thereby the fermentation process generally it will not be too high. So like that, if there is integration, so there will be a reduction in the environmental pollution. This is also one of the advantages with the integrated farming, which we have discussed earlier. So when there is an interdependency, sustainability automatically will be lost. Sustainability means your farm is not going to be stopped or will be under the loss. Okay, immediately you start or after a few years. Somewhere there is interdependency. That's why the liquid money dependency is less. So naturally your farming system is going to sustain it. So this is another important component of the integrated farming. Okay. So now in this context only, this integrated farming is suggested or is proposed, okay, to reduce the global warming because of 2-3 advantages which we discussed earlier. So the global warming gases are methane, carbon dioxide, and also carbon monoxide and other industrial gases are there, which we are not much concerned. We are only concerned with the greenhouse gases, which are directly related to animal husbandry and agriculture. Because since integrated farming is not solely livestock, it is agriculture as well as. So if you see the first picture on the left side, greenhouse effect, normal carbon dioxide when there is there. So there is a radiation from the solar system, that is sun. Again, it's further reflecting back. Okay, thereby temperature is maintained. Okay, so this maintenance of temperature, okay, is due to the normal production of the carbon dioxide. That is fine. But if it excessively it is produced, okay, and if there is a defect in the ozone layer also, so that is again further aggravate the situation. So now with the advancement of this commercial farming system, whether it is agriculture or agriculture or industry, whatever it may be, so there is a increase in the greenhouse gases percentage. So thereby it is leading to global warming. So now we are not concerned about the global warming. Our concern is only greenhouse gases. So now what are those greenhouse gases? Mainly carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, which are generally directly with the human activity. They are generally produced with the result of human activity. There are other gases are there, which are generally produced again out of the human activity, but they are not so seriously concerned and we don't have much role on that. So that's why we will not consider about the other industrial gases which contribute to the greenhouse. We are concerned with only the first two, carbon dioxide and methane, out of which methane. Okay. Now, what are the major greenhouse gases? Carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, out of which methane is on our priority. Second is carbon dioxide. Nitrous oxide is not much to discuss about because it's very minor quantity. Industrial gas, I'm not going to touch. So now, what is the role of this greenhouse effect? The moment increase in the greenhouse gases, so naturally, the greenhouse effect, which is generally maintained or which is properly controlled by the ozone layer, is affected. So with this prelude, your approach is to reduce the greenhouse gases, whether it's a methane or it's a carbon dioxide, through this integrated farming system. Okay, that's the main contest. Let us take first methane. So first is methane. Why methane? I take it as though if you take the gas, carbon dioxide, it is the major contributor, but still methane we take it as a priority. Methane is a principal component of natural gas. Means the main source of methane is natural gases through the burning of the fossil fuels. But that is again not concerned with us. We are concerned with the one livestock. Burning methane in the presence of oxygen produces carbon dioxide and water. So it means that why carbon dioxide I did not give much priority because of the reason. Methane directly contributes to the greenhouse gas. Additionally, this methane in presence of oxygen, when it reacts, it further releases the carbon dioxide. One is direct carbon dioxide release from the industry or human activities. Second is from methane, and then methane further releases the carbon dioxide. That's why we call it as a double effect. Okay, methane is very good gas for the industrial purpose, but it's very difficult to transport from its source, wherever it is produced. Okay, but this is one of the relatively potent greenhouse gas, and this methane contributes 4 to 9% of the greenhouse effect. And this methane in the atmosphere has a half-life of 7 years, and this also mainly contributor for the degradation of ozone. Okay, so now 3 points I would like to highlight. One is this methane, in addition to on its own per se, further it releases aggravates the greenhouse gas by reacting with the oxygen by producing the carbon dioxide. Okay. Second is its half-life is short compared to carbon. That again we'll discuss it, but it contributes 4 to 9% in the greenhouse effect. Okay. What are the common sources? Source means from where it is released. Sinks means where it is being absorbed. Okay. That's the word is sink is used. Even in your syllabus also there is a carbon sequestration and carbon sinking. Sequestration means uptake of carbon dioxide. Sinking means absorption of carbon dioxide. Okay. Similarly, methane source. Here, major source of methane is extraction from the geological deposition known as the natural gas fields. Gas at shallow level is formed by anaerobic decay of organic matter and reworked methane from the deep under the earth surface. Again, these 2 points just to say that these are the 2 sources. But again, we are not the directly contributor. Okay. So since the methane is produced, our main point is methane is also produced in the considerable quantities from the decaying organic waste of solid waste landfills. Landfills means simply you are going to fill a particular area with any of the organic material. Okay, you can see the photograph, they are called landfills. But here landfills with respect to dung. Okay, when you take your dung from the farm and you put it in one area for the composting, it can be a dung pit, okay, manure pit, or simply it is in the open area or in the natural pit or the trench which has been intentionally prepared and where you are going to pour the dung. That is also a landfill, but landfill out of dung. Okay. So in addition to these methane production from the natural gas phase, it is also being produced considerable quantities by decaying of organic waste of solid waste landfills. Here with our condition, it is the dung. Okay. Now if you see the methane production on one side, top down, other side is bottom up, natural sources. Here if you see agriculture and waste, okay, it is equally contributing. Highest is natural source, okay, 221, but agriculture and waste is almost 200. So this clearly indicates that the livestock and agriculture industries, both they contribute to a greater extent to the greenhouse gases. So within the agriculture, if you see, okay, you can see this photograph, green part, if you see in the bottom, it's agriculture enteric fermentation. Agriculture enteric fermentation means that wetland agriculture. Suppose if you see the paddy, okay, so the method of paddy growing, if you see, so always waterlogging is very much important for growing the paddy. So there is a process called fermentation that is also called as enteric fermentation. From 1990 till date, it is almost constant, but rest of the contribution, methane contribution is gradually being reduced, means well taken care. Though agriculture contribution here by the enteric fermentation is small, but it is constant. So that's why it is our aim is to reduce through by different ways, and means that is called mitigation of greenhouse gases. Okay. Biogas generated by the fermentation of organic matter, including manure, wastewater, sludge, anything, any degradable material, okay, under anaerobic conditions. So, in addition to this anaerobic fermentation, directly, cattle also contribute methane to the 16% of the world's annual methane emission to the atmosphere. So, again, I highlighted here 16% of this is also important. Wherever I put a red mark, it means that somewhere it's important. Okay. Thus, cattle also directly through belching, okay, account 16% of the world's annual methane emission. And this methane production from the livestock production system, mainly from the enteric fermentation and manure management. Means these are, one is direct, that is through belching, okay, another is through that, okay. And this livestock sector in generally, okay, produce 30% of all human-induced methane. So there should be clarity here. One is directly cattle, that is 16% of the total methane emission. But here, contribution by the human-induced methane, out of which 37% from the livestock sector. Okay, so there should be some clarity. 16% is through belching, 37%, okay, by the livestock sector, out of human-induced methane. Means already I told you what are the greenhouse gases by the human activities, out of which this 37% is from the livestock. Greenhouse gas emissions showed that livestock contributes about 18% of the global greenhouse gases. Directly, if you see, it is the 18%. Okay, these three data you need to remember. So one more time, why we call methane is very potent, because methane emission will have 25 times the more impact on the temperature, okay, compared to carbon dioxide emission. Means carbon dioxide, if you compare, this has got more 20 times more impact than the carbon dioxide. If you take one carbon dioxide, right? If you take methane, that's 25 times higher. Okay. The methane has a larger effect for a brief period. Okay. Already last we are discussing about that half-life is very short, but the contribution, the intensity of methane is for a short period, but as a stronger effect. So why means? Because that lifetime of 12 to 0.3 years, it's an average range, otherwise 7 to 12 years, they say that, compared to carbon dioxide, which has a smaller effect for the longer period. So that's why methane we take it on the priority, because it's a strong contributor, as it has a 20 times more impact compared to carbon dioxide on the temperature, global warming. Okay. Usually excess methane from the landfills and other natural producers of methane is burned, so carbon dioxide, as I told you in the beginning itself. One is methane directly by the livestock. Additionally, whatever is existing in the methane, further it gets converted to carbon dioxide, adding further gravity of that intensity of that global warming is further aggravated by converting methane to carbon dioxide. Those scientific experiments have been given variable results in determining whether plants are the source of methane emission or not, directly, not like wetland fermentation I told you with respect to paddy, but directly as a plant. Okay, there are no much scientific evidence stating that they are the contributor for the greenhouse gases. Okay. Methane as the atmospheric, like the same thing only what I told. So why this as larger effect compared to carbon dioxide, same thing is being repeated. So here also, if you see the methane concentration in the upper troposphere, okay, it is clearly visible. It is clearly visible. So that only affects the ozone layer, and that only will lead to maximum global warming. So just to conclude about the methane, methane is a natural way to its control. Methane should be naturally sourced and synced. Use of methane as an alternate source of energy is a viable option. Livestock waste and methane are coincidentally, and they should be dealt in a multidisciplinary approach. This last point, what we call it, that is our concern. That's directly concerned with your subject. That is, reduction of methane can be done by the integrated farming system. So altogether, whatever we told, just to say that this could be one avenue to reduce the methane contribution to the environment. Next is same topic, new approach for changing the farming system in the light of what we discussed so far. Now, what are the mitigations to reduce the greenhouse gases? Okay. So in the bracket, they also reducing carbon and water footprint. Water footprints means footprints means it is the quantity of carbon or water left by the human activity. Okay. So how to reduce that carbon? Because you need some scale. You need some method to estimate. So that's called footprints actually. So how to reduce that footprints, that we are going to discuss now. So now mitigation of greenhouse gases, out of which we are covering the two important components. First is mitigation of methane. So first you need to understand source, that is industrial emission, which we don't have control, but already commercially they are trying to harvest the methane by the industrial way. Okay, by harvesting, how this methane which is already available in the nature, how to be harvested by different ways and means already going on. Okay, that is not our concern. But our concern is mitigation from the agriculture, mitigation from the livestock. Okay, mitigation of these greenhouse gases through agriculture system, and mitigation of greenhouse gases through livestock. Okay, so through agriculture, the government of India has initiated one scheme which I will be discussing. Okay. Similarly, mitigation of greenhouse gases, particularly methane, has been given to NAMP to work scientifically what are the ways and means. Out of which they have said the main is feeding management, other is waste management, which we will be discussing. Okay. So one is mitigation of this methane through agriculture and livestock we will be discussing. Next comes mitigation of carbon dioxide, which is generally done by the carbon sequestration or by the carbon sinking. But since to mitigate carbon dioxide, okay, we need some ways to means to give an estimation for which they use the carbon footprints. Okay, carbon. This is one method of measurement basically. So footprints means what we say, like if you take the example of wildlife, pug marks we take it. So based on pug marks, we estimate the population of tiger, leopard, or including cheetah and lion. So similar footprint means it is the prints left by the animal in a given area. It can be in a particular national park or sanctuary. Similarly, here carbon footprint means how much this carbon is left in the environment or to the greenhouse gases through both methane and carbon dioxide, because both contains carbon through the human activity. Okay. So since it is in method of estimating, and in order to reduce carbon footprints, they have given solar and wind energy utilization. These are the ways and means to reduce the carbon footprints. And additionally, water footprints, it's a type of conservation of natural resources. Anyway, mitigation of greenhouse gas, first one is through methane, another is through carbon dioxide. These are the two means. Out of methane, one is through agriculture, other is livestock. That we will be discussing, then subsequently we will take other type. First is mitigation from the agriculture. So Government of India has started the National Initiative on Climate Resilient Agriculture. That is NICRA. Probably you might have heard, even Ivory also, one of the sub-center we do have this NICRA, where they are telling different modules, livestock modules, okay, in the form of climatic resilient livestock farming. Okay. So there is a world-funded outreach program which exclusively works on this mitigation of greenhouse gases. Okay, it means it suggests they are studying the contribution of natural gas, greenhouse gases, and it suggests what are those we'll be studying. Okay, so they have given 4 modules for the agriculture. The first module is natural resource management. Easily, if you see your syllabus, so there is a one word called, what is it called? Natural resource conservation, something it is there. Okay. So that is a part of this one, natural resource management, wherein you are going to use or you are going to follow different ways and means to conserve the natural resources through in situ conservation, moisture conservation methods, biomass mulching, residue recycling, manure management, soil health card management, water harvesting. So they have given different ways and means to conserve the natural resources. Okay. Second is module 2, crop production system. Crop production. So that's nothing but a integrated crop production system. It can be mixed crop system. It is with respect to agriculture only. Already we discussed, if you remember in my first class, I also given different combination of agriculture crop, excluding the livestock. Okay, excluding the livestock. So here also they have given, why means, I again highlighted here, wetland rice field contributes maximum methane to the atmosphere. So that's why they have given one solution, water saving paddy system. Means they're going for the alternate method of paddy growing. If you see the conventional method of paddy, if you are from the rural area, so paddy needs water logging all the time. That only is contributing maximum methane. So now they are suggesting different ways and means by which, okay, this methane contribution by the wetland rice production can be reduced. Okay, this is one point that's why highlighted with respect to our syllabus. This is one important. Otherwise, they suggested short duration and drought and flood tolerant varieties they want to introduce. Okay. Similarly, they want to suggest the right method of planting so that it can be harvested at the right time, so that to avoid the unnecessary wastage of the, what you can say, agriculture waste. Okay. Because indirectly it again contributes to methane. How means, like if you see earlier, the burning of what you can say, paddy straw after harvesting the rice. So they were not going for the cutting of paddy straw, they were simply going for the burning of the paddy. Sugarcane leaves, they are going for the burning of sugarcane. So these are all the contributors. So now they are suggesting what are the alternative methods. So in that process, they are introducing 2 more terminologies. One is arable farming, another is plantation crops. Okay, this is again part of your syllabus also. They use this word arable farming. Arable farming is a normal crop production system. Whatever you see, by and large, it's a arable farming. Okay, where in a given land you can go for the production of agriculture. But in that arable farming system, okay, people have come up with a different intercropping. That is more important. So thereby, the nutrient of the soil is being maintained. through different intercropping. Otherwise, if you go for the same crop every year, okay, so there will be loss of nutrients, which is against the nature. So that's why under the arable farming, they have suggested different methods of intercropping, mixed cropping, which already we discussed earlier also. Since it was related to agriculture, I have not gone different methods of mixed farming, okay? But it is one of the method under the arable farming. Plantation crops. Plantation crops, if you take coffee, tea, means once you go for the plantation, that will remain for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. So such crops are encouraged. Why? Means there is no wastage due to byproduct. Because today, if you go for the plantation, it's nothing but agroforest. Thereby, biomass is maintained in a given area. So there is no wastage. Suppose if you take paddy, first you will go for the flowing. So thereby, whatever the carbon dioxide and methane trapped within the soil is released into the, what you can say, environment. So once you go for the plantation of paddy and you make that plantation to grow better, you go for the waterlogging. That will lead to a fermentation. That again contributes to the gas. Once you harvest the paddy, so part of the what you can say, the plant will remain in the field after harvesting. So that you have to burn it. So again, that it not. But in case of plantation crop, it does not happen. Once you start plant today, whether it's a rubber, tea, coffee, or palm or coconut, okay. So it will be there for so many years. So thereby there is no byproduct. So indirectly, it is contributing for the nature, okay. So that's why they use that plantation crops word. So third model, first model was the natural resource management. Second model was crop production models. Third is village level institutions, means it is just a type of education. Actually, third model is this livestock and fisheries interventions, but for easy understanding, I have interchanged. Actually, I made it as a fourth, but otherwise, model third is a livestock and fisheries intervention. So, village level institutions, we are not concerned, only we are concerned with livestock and fisheries intervention. So, this is one of the models suggested by the NICRA, okay, for the resource management as well as for the less contribution of methane and carbon dioxide to the what you can say to the nature, okay. So that's why when you say integrated farming, so they all come as a part of these models. So the recent publication also says that the integrated farming system is considered as an adaptation strategy to climate change, okay. So that's why this integrated farming is considered to be an adaptation strategy to the climate change. This is the one conclusion. It is an important statement. Means integrated farming is considered to be an adaptation strategy to the climate. Means with this climate change, this farming can be adapted in a better way compared to other farming system, whether it is intensive, mixed, or diversity farming, whatever it may be. So it is far behind than those farming system which we discussed in the first class. Okay. Next comes mitigation from the livestock. Okay. So there are two approaches. One is feeding and feed. Second, through waste management. Since this course is not talks about much about the feeding, so we are not concerned. So only concerned about the waste. Okay. So this is one table which I have given. What are the contribution of dung and urine by the each species? So these are all live weight basis. Means this is the actual quantity defecated by the horse, cattle, buffalo. Even I had given one question even in the midterm also. Probably you may expect 1 or 2 questions even in the final exam. This table you can read it. So when you say waste management, then there are so many other things comes. We'll start one by one. Necessity of this collection. Collection means your dung collection. Okay. To avoid the chance of disease. Healthy and clean animal production. Because you see advantages of integrated farming system. Now again you try to recapitulate. All that comes part of this only. So healthy and clean animal production system, hygienic production of livestock products, giving scope for proper recycling of nutrients, aiming for the speedy disposal of the waste. Okay, so that is the main purpose of it. So now what are the collection methods which are prevailing in India? Convention, even in the Iberia itself, if you take, it is this separation of solid and liquid waste separately. Even if you take our own dairy farm, what we do? First, we'll try to heap the dry dung at one place, and tractor will come. We'll take it, the dung on the tractor, and we'll dump at one place for the composting purpose. And whatever the washings, okay, and that washing may contain all the dung material or even unwanted waste also. It goes to the directly to the sludge collection pit. If you had seen at IVRA dairy farm, so it's well and good. Otherwise, there is a sludge. From there, it is being pumped to the agriculture field. But these two methods are very conventional and not at all advised for the environment. Okay. But conventionally, these are the two systems which generally we follow. But what are the improved methods? If you go to any European countries or American countries, there are so many automation is there, because they consider this is one of the product, not as a backup. But nowadays, India things have changed. Now they also consider as a primary product after milk. If you convert that value into a money, then dung fetches more if you properly handle it. Okay. So now, what is composting? Composting requires a simply piling up of waste in the outdoor and waiting for a year. Means just you allow it to settle there. First, the water content will evaporate, and it creates an anaerobic environment inside that heat. Then gradually, that due to anaerobic reaction, okay, so there will be a release of methane and carbon dioxide in the end of the day. So there will be good organic NPK, nitrogen, potash, and this what is that, NPK. Okay. So now, what are the common methods by which you can handle this dung? One is windrows and stand. Windrows means, if you see in the villages where the space is the constant, they start at one point, they keep on adding only 2 to 3 feet height. They keep on adding the dung in a row wise. Okay. Second is static piles. Static piles means you make a trench, you keep on putting in the same trench for a larger height. Okay. Windrows means it is a continuous. Static means it is the higher. Okay. So closed composting system is, these are very commercial. Okay. These are very typical. So if you have studied that waste management course, so probably all these systems will be agitated system, silo composting system, tunnel composting, static. Means there will be a closed container. Means you will have a like a sewage treatment plant, or you can see effluent treatment. Means there will be a container which is made up of concrete. Okay. All dung and sludge will be pumped into that container, which is a closed one. There will be anaerobic reaction, and there will be release of gases, and further they use that sludge out of that composting. Okay, these are all standard methods, but we generally don't use it because it's very costly and it's very what you can say cumbersome procedure. For a small dairy farmer, this is not possible. Okay, only so now if we want to make additional intervention, so that comes biogas plants. Okay, so nowadays it has become more popular, and it is going to be an advantage, particularly where there is a more demand for the electricity. ठीक है, जहाँ कमर्शियल का इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का ज़्यादा वैल्यू है, वहाँ आपका बायोगैस प्लांट्स काफ़ी इम्पोर्टेंट रोल आता है. So now what is biogas plants? These are the devices, okay, which is generally used for the anaerobic digestion, which will help in converting these waste into some output, so that is in the form of gas production. Okay. Now, what is carbon footprint? A carbon footprint is the total greenhouse gas, including carbon dioxide and methane, okay, emissions caused by directly or indirectly by an individual or by an organization or by an event or a process or to produce a product. It can be anything. Okay. You can talk carbon footprints with respect to an individual in India. You can talk of carbon footprints by an organization. You can talk of carbon footprints by an event or by produce. It can be a per unit of an individual, organization, or a country, whatever it may be. It is also calculated by summing the emission resulting from every stage of product or service for lifetime. Means, suppose if I am a human being, if you talk about individual, okay, from my every day, if you see, okay, from morning to evening, or you can talk about from my birth to death, or you can talk about for a year. What are the contribution through me, okay, contributing carbon dioxide to the environment, that is called footprint. In any form, it can be in any form, I told you. So if you are traveling from Bangalore to, you can say Hyderabad by bus. So since I'm using that bus, I'm also contributing through burning of food. Okay. Since I'm taking food from morning to evening, whether vegetarian or non-vegetarian. If I'm a non-vegetarian, I'm contributing more. If I'm vegetarian, I'm contributing less. So like that, what is the contribution of by an individual from morning to evening, or for a year, or for an event, whatever it may be. Okay, it is all together calculated, then it's called as a footprint. Okay, the average carbon footprints of a person in the United States is 16 tons. It's one of the highest rates in the world. They are the main contributor for the carbon footprints. So now carbon footprint is a method of estimation. Okay, so now our main game is to reduce the carbon in the environment. So now how to reduce it? That is called the process of usage of carbon from the environment is called carbon sequestration. I'll read out the definition first. It is a process of capture and deliberate, whether it is a natural or artificial, or by the storage of carbon dioxide over long period. That's called sequestration. Means डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली जो चीज कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड आपके एनवायरमेंट में है, आप इसको यूज करेंगे, कंजप्शन करेंगे, उसको इनडायरेक्टली यू आर रिड्यूसिंग कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड फ्रॉम द एनवायरमेंट. आप इसको कलेक्ट करके कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड सिलेंडर में आप कलेक्ट करके रखिए, दैट इज आल्सो कार्बन सिक्वेस्ट्रेशन. उस कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड को आप इंडस्ट्री में यूज करिए, दैट इज आल्सो कार्बन सिक्वेस्ट्रेशन. जो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड आपको फोटोसिंथेसिस के लिए प्लांट्स यूज करते हैं, दैट इज आल्सो कार्बन सिक्वेस्ट्रेशन. मींस अल्टीमेटली it is the capture and usage of carbon dioxide from the environment for some purpose. It is called carbon sequestration. You got it? It is also said that carbon sinks. Carbon sinks means nothing but sinks means जहां जगह है वहां जाके चिपक जाता है, or it will get stored. That is called sinks. Okay? So now carbon sinks is also a carbon sequestration. You got it? So importantly, carbon sequestration is both a natural or artificial. You can do it intentionally or it can happen naturally. How it happens, we'll take an example. The more scientific explanation is the removal and storage of carbon from the atmosphere to sink. ठीक है, यहाँ sink कौन सा है? It can be a ocean, it can be soil, it can be forest. Ocean में क्या होगा? जाके that will get absorbed. Soil में क्या? It will get stored. Forest में क्या? Biomass, it will use the carbon dioxide through photosynthesis. Okay, but they are all called as a carbon sinks. Okay, that process is called sequestration. So now carbon sequestration types. Okay, all we are not concerned. We are concerned with C, D. Okay, so now biological carbon sequestration, if you include here, this roughly stores carbon dioxide either in the vegetation, grassland, or forest. Okay, here also two. One is source is ocean, which we are not concerned. Forest we are concerned. Okay. The plant-rich landscapes like forest, grassland, okay, rangelands absorb 25% of the global carbon emission. Okay, and when the tree branches leaves, they die and fall on the ground. They releases the carbon. They again stored into the soil. So deforestation and wildfires continue to diminish forest as a carbon sink. So indirectly, this forest helps in absorption. Okay. And indirectly, it helps in the uptake of carbon. It's a biological carbon sequestration. Similarly, in case of soil, carbon can be sequestered in the soil by plants through photosynthesis. This is a very important point. Photosynthesis is one of the biological carbon sequestration. It happens through plants in the soil. Okay. So other same thing has been explained. You can read out usually. So now geological carbon sequestration, which we are not concerned, but just for the sake of knowledge. It is the carbon dioxide is stored in the underground, okay, such as rocks. That is called geological carbon sequestration. Next is technological carbon sequestration. Another is Indian. Both are man-made. Intentionally, you will capture and you will use it for something. So only my intention is types of carbon sequestration to explain that biological carbon sequestration where we are concerned. So carbon is being used by the plants in the form of photosynthesis, and that plant is being used by the, again, animals in the source of food. Okay, so that's why we are directly contributing.